What's going on, Guardians? Welcome back to another Planet Destiny raid guide. My name is Sly from SlyNation, and I'm here to help walk you through the latest Destiny 2 raid from the Shadowkeep expansion called the Garden of Salvation. I've made quite a few raid guides in the past for Planet Destiny, from Rise of Iron all the way up to OG Leviathan. And in this first part, we're going to be checking out the very first encounter within the new raid, chasing the Consecrated Mind. So because this first encounter sets you up for everything else afterwards, it is important to understand these mechanics from this first area. So first, let's talk about weapons, team composition, the map, and then we'll set things into motion. Just like other various raids within the Destiny universe, you will need to split up into two teams of three. We'll have Team 1 and Team 2, 3 players on each. Since contest mode is no longer active, you can run just about any subclass that you wish, at least for this first encounter. I found that the newly buffed bottom tree tether is an absolute beast for clearing major, minor bosses, and adds in general. 6-shooter golden gun is also quite fun as well as useful, as is the Arc Strider subclass, but choice really up to you guys. For the warlocks out there, Radiance, well, always good to have, as is the Titan bubble for added protection and weapon damage, but if you want to run hammers, that works just as well. For weapons, I recommend a Void shotgun or a Void fusion rifle, along with a good spike grenade launcher, or a tracking rocket launcher. For primary, my trusty Better Devils or Austringer worked quite well here depending on my character, but any pulse rifle would do as well. It is entirely up to you and what you're best with. This first encounter really is not that difficult, it's just about getting into the swing of things, so whatever you're good with, whatever keeps you alive the longest is what you should choose. Now let's talk about the two mechanics that you need to know. There is a status effect called Voltaic Overload, which will be present throughout this first half of the raid. The Harpy boss spits out these Vex Oracle looking things. Walking into it will give one person the Voltaic Overload debuff or status effect. If another teammate is too close when someone walks into it, it can explode onto them, giving it to both of you. And this, my friends, is a no-no. You only need to grab it one person at a time. If someone grabs it back to back, say for instance you have the Voltaic Overload buff and then you pick it up a second time, it will kill you. However, when you respawn, you will no longer have that overload active. Also, if no one picks it up and leaves it out there for an extended period of time, it acts as a team wipe mechanic. So picking it up back to back and dying is preferable to not picking it up at all, but that should not happen. You'll see why next. So the Voltaic Overload buff, that is the first mechanic within this encounter. The next one we're going to talk about is Tether. And once again, this Tether mechanic is the main mechanic throughout the entire raid, from here all the way up until the main boss battle at the end. Mess around with the tether, jump into the raid early, and see how it tethers from person to person. Shoot it to stop it, notice its behaviors. That will really help you out in the long run. So these tethers do different things depending on the encounter you're in. For this very first encounter, it is only used to open gates that lead into the next area. To activate the tether, shoot the tether box and only shoot it once. Have one person be designated per team to be the person who shoots it and is also first in line. It will then hop from the first person to the second to the third, and it will connect all the way to the lock gate. Once the connection is made, the next area opens up and the team moves on. Now, one thing to note is that throughout the entire raid, there will be these yellow bar hydras called Angelics. Now, I call them Angelica. Angelica's here, but whatever. When they show up, they will shield the tether box with kind of this, immune Vex shield, making the tethers disconnect from the user or requiring the team to take out Angelica before you can use the tether. This is also something universal throughout the raid. Okay, so now let's put all of this into motion. Split up into two teams of three, Team 1 and Team 2. Team number 1 stays in the first room where the encounter begins, while Team 2 descends past the first gate into the next area. To do this, start the encounter by lining up as a team and making a human chain from the tether box to the gate. This opens the gate and it starts the encounter. Team 1's job is to take out adds and collect the Voltaic Overload buff as the boss spits it out. Assign yourself who will take first, second, and third. You will keep this order throughout the next few encounters as well. As the boss lays down these charges, collect them one at a time. Player 1 takes a buff, steps back, shoots adds, then you wait around, the second player takes the second charge, then 3, etc. All the while this is going on in the first room, the second team down below is clearing adds and trying to open the door so we can advance as a team. So to do this, you must clear out adds, Vex Cyclops, and 2 special enemies. The first special enemy is a Vex Overload Minotaur, and then once you've taken out enough enemies, including that Minotaur, the Angelic Hydra will spawn we talked about earlier. So team shoot it, That releases the tether box, then use the tether to open the gate. You need to communicate with Team 1 about two certain things here. Number 1, Cyclops. As soon as a Cyclops is killed, it will almost instantly spawn somewhere else, and in the very first encounter, as you can see here, it is usually located behind Team number 1, and Cyclops are beasts in this raid, so take them out as soon as you see them and call it out once they're dead because they will almost one-hit kill you. The second call out is going to be the gate. As soon as the gate is opened, the boss will teleport into the next room, which means the team has to move on. You don't want to lag behind because you don't want that boss to spit out an overflow buff and then all of a sudden no one's there to collect it. So once Team 2 takes out the Minotaur and then the Angelic Hydra, they open the gate and call out gate open. That is Team 1's cue to come down from the first area. And now we have to switch roles, guys, because everyone on Team 1 has that Voltaic Overload buff, which lasts a few good minutes. Team 2 now has to run around collecting the Overload buff, killing ads, while the first team now has to deal with the second set of Minotaurs and Hydras. You're simply switching roles here because you have to juggle the Overload buff and give it time to disappear from the first team. Once Angelica is down, Team 1 opens the gate, calls it out, and now we simply switch again. We're back to our starting jobs. Team 1's Voltaic buff should have ran out by now, or at least is close to running out, so Team 2 leaves their area and goes into the next room, while Team 1 stays behind to once again collect the Voltaic debuff, and it all plays out the same way again. Team 1 runs around collecting the Voltaic charge from exploding, while Team 2 is in the final room taking out the Cyclopses, the Minotaur, and finally Angelica. Once that happens, you'll now need to collect 3 locks instead of 1. Because of the angle, it will take an extra person to do this. So for this very last room, have one person from team number 1, who is usually the player that collects the first overload charge, which in this case was myself. They're going to come to help the tether team at the door. Now once the first lock has popped, everyone meets up in this room. As soon as that first lock is opened, the boss will teleport into the next area, so you don't have to worry about any more debuffs being dropped. Unlock the other 2 doors, and then now, guys, we're going to do a yellow phase. This is simply a mad dash to the end. The boss will once again lay down 3 overload charges, but this time they're going to be in quick succession, and they have to be collected fast, or it's a team wipe and then back to the start. In the final room, just keep the same orders you've been using, guys. Team 2 needs to collect the first, second, and third buffs, so that means Team 1, who still has the Voltaic charge, you need to be on aggro duty. Kill as many Cyclopses as possible, giving the other team a little bit of breathing room to do their job and to live. Once you collect all 3, that's it, guys. Snag your loot and start looking good. That's it, my friends. It's a pretty straightforward encounter, but it does require you to understand the basics, which are something you need to know. Like I mentioned, everything you see here in this encounter will play out in just about every encounter from this one forward. So the more you wipe, the more you redo, the more practice you will get, and the better you will become. But yeah, that's it, Guardians. Go ahead and jump down the tree roots, grab your hidden chest in this next area, and then start the small jumping puzzle. For the second encounter, we have to now beat the Consecrated Mine, but that'll be in the next guide. So I am out of here, y'all. As always, thank you guys so much for watching another Planet Destiny Garden of Salvation raid guide. This is your dude Sly, and stick around for parts 2 and 3 as we beat the Consecrated Mind and then the ultimate battle, the Sanctified Mind. Hit that like button if you found this guide helpful. Comment down below if you have any suggestions for other players as how to speed things up or make the encounter a little easier. Subscribe for more Destiny 2, Garden of Salvation, raid guides, and Shadowkeep videos here on Planet Destiny. And keep those eyes open for more videos coming out here soon, but until then, this is your dude Sly, and I will catch you guys in the next one.